My family planned a 47-person beach reunion at my house without asking, then called my son. Not a real cousin. Hi, I'm Kai, 44, and I found out my family planned a full-blown reunion at my beach house, without asking me. It started with a text. One sentence. No greeting. No question. We planned a family reunion at your beach house. 47 people for days. Stock the fridge by Friday. I was still in scrubs, sitting at the kitchen island after a 14-hour craniotomy. My son was half asleep on the couch with his Switch, his hair sticking up in tufts, the way it always did when he was too tired to fight sleep. I hadn't been asked? Not once. No. Hey Kai, do those dates work? No. Would that be okay with you? Just a decision. As if I was the concierge. As if my home, my house, was their Airbnb. I stared at the message. Typed out a single word. No. 3 letters. A lifetime of baggage behind them. I watched the typing bubbles flicker, then disappear. Then flicker again. The reply came through. We're coming anyway. What are you going to do? Call the HOA? I didn't respond. I put my phone face down and tried to focus on the lasagna I'd picked up on the way home. My son Nico, padded over in socks, eyes puffy. Everything okay? He asked. Yeah, but I lied. Just family stuff. He nodded. He'd heard that line too many times for an 11-year-old. Because this wasn't new. This wasn't the first time they'd pulled something like this. I'm Kai. 44. Neurosurgeon. Dad. That's it. Not. Stepdad. Not. Part-time dad. Not. Mom's husband. Just dad to Nico. He was 3 when I came into his life. 5 when I adopted him. His biological father was long gone before I ever showed up. My family lives just over an hour inland in a small Florida town that believes, doctor, means free ATM with a guilt complex. 3 kids, me, my sister Jess, and my brother Cal. I'm the oldest. The only one who left. When my salary went from decent to borderline unethical, I did what I thought oldest sons were supposed to do. I helped. I covered the bills when things fell apart. I bought generators for hurricane season, cleared credit card debt, paid off the back taxes on my parents' home, and sent monthly transfers just to make sure they had food. And 5 years ago, I bought the beach house. 3 bedrooms. 2 bunk rooms. Wraparound deck. Oceanfront. My name on the deed. And somehow, it became the family house. Not mine. Theirs. Jess even texted my wife like she was our travel coordinator. We're taking the 2nd week of June, Kay? No. Is it free? Just we're taking it. And the worst part? I swallowed it. For years. I told myself this was the price of being successful in a family that had never had money. That I could afford it. That it wasn't worth the fight. But there was one thing I couldn't afford to swallow. How they treated Nico. Nico's quiet. Not shy, just careful. He's the kind of kid who memorizes Pokemon stats for fun, draws full cityscapes in his sketchbook with tiny bridges and transit lines and rocket pads. He gets overwhelmed in loud rooms. He prefers logic puzzles to dodgeball. My family never said anything outright, but they made it clear, Jess and Cal's kids were the real grandkids. Nico was tolerated. At Christmas, every kid had an embroidered stocking. Nico's was a plain red one from a multipack. In group photos, they'd forget to call him over. At my dad's 70th, my mom introduced the grandkids to her church friends by name, then pointed to Nico and said, "That's Kai's stepson." Like she was reading off a list and couldn't bring herself to lie. I let it go. Again and again. Told myself they'd come around. That they just didn't know how to handle a kid like Nico. That it was generational. Right up until last 4th of July. I'd rearranged my entire schedule to be there. First weekend off call in months. Rented a pontoon and 2 jet skis. Stocked coolers, set up umbrellas, packed sunblock and towels. That morning, I got stuck on a call with one of the residents about a shunt complication. By the time I made it down to the dock, everyone was already climbing aboard the boat. Kids in life jackets, Jess's husband firing up the speaker, my dad halfway through a beer. Everyone was there, except Nico. He was sitting at the edge of the dock. Towel wrapped tight around him. Sketchbook closed. Knees drawn up. "Not getting on?" I asked, kneeling beside him. "They said there wasn't room," he said without looking at me. I looked. There was room. At least 4 empty seats. The boat wasn't even close to capacity. Jess saw me staring and called out, "Coast Guard rules! 18 max, Kai." I counted. 14. Maybe 15. Not 18. "There's room for one more," I said, climbing aboard. "He can sit up front with me." Her husband cut in. "We already balanced the weight. It's a safety thing." My dad raised his drink. "Take the jet ski later. Boys' time. Let the cousins have their fun." The cousins. Like Nico wasn't one. Behind me, I heard Nico's voice, small and even. "It's okay. I get seasick anyway." "He doesn't. He loves the water." One of Jess's kids muttered. "He's not even a real cousin." Like it was nothing. Everyone heard it. No one corrected him. I felt that rush of adrenaline I get mid-surgery when something slips and time bends. I wanted to scream. To throw someone off the damn boat. Instead, I knelt beside my son and said, "Text me if you want me. We'll get ice cream later." He nodded. The boat pulled away. The music got louder. My family laughed. Nico sat on the dock and started to draw. That night, as fireworks lit up the sky, he handed me a sketch. The boat. The fireworks. All the little stick figures together. And off to the side, one smaller figure, alone on the pier. "That's me," he said. "It's okay. Side characters are sometimes more interesting anyway." Side character. My son called himself a side character. And that's when something inside me cracked. After that, I started saying no. It began small. $100,000 here. Alone there. First, my parents wanted an RV. Not for a trip. To retire in. As in, Kai buys the $65,000 vehicle, we drive around, and he keeps paying the note while we find ourselves on Route 1. I told them no. My dad didn't speak to me for a month. My mom texted my wife, Sophia, saying, "Success has changed him." Jess joked in the family group chat. "Guess he's saving for another kid who's not really his." Cal stayed quiet. But he kept using the credit card I'd given them. For gas only. Next came Jess's Dream Bakery. She sent me a 12-page business plan, half of it copied from a website with my name scrawled under. Angel investor. She wanted $100,000. I told her I'd pay for a real accountant to review her numbers, but I wouldn't bankroll the whole thing. She didn't speak to Nico the next 3 times she saw him. Just walked past him like he wasn't there. So when her text came in May, "We planned a family reunion at your beach house. 47 people. Stock the fridge by Friday." I shouldn't have been surprised. They'd already made a Facebook event. Jess posted it like it was a destination wedding, Family Beach Bash 2025. The cover photo? My house. A shot Sophia had taken one Christmas, complete with our tree in the window. Location, Kai's beach house, our family place. Host, me. Except I hadn't said yes. Hadn't been asked? Hadn't even known about it. They had room assignments. A schedule. A whole thread about fireworks and who was bringing hot dogs. I scrolled down and saw this comment from Jess under a picture of the bunk room. "Don't worry about Nico. He's sensitive. Probably better if he stays at Sophia's parents'. They hate the beach anyway." My mom hard reacted. Then someone else asked, "Wait, is he not coming?" Jess replied, "We'll invite him for a day trip, of course, but the bunk thing is for the real cousins." The real cousins. That was it. The line in the sand. I stared at that comment so long, my phone went dim. I didn't send it to Sophia. I didn't need to. I already knew how she'd react. Instead, I picked up my phone and typed the same word I had when this whole thing started. "No." They laughed. Literally sent laughing emojis. Jess texted back, "We'll come anyway. You don't have to be there. Or be so dramatic." I called my mom. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I saw the reunion thing. You didn't check dates with me. We were planning a week out there." "Oh, honey," she said like I was being ridiculous. "You never used the place in August. Still. It's my house. And 47 people? That's way over capacity. The HOA. Don't start with your rules." She cut in. "It's family. It's our house." "It's not," I said. "It's mine." Silence. I took a breath. And I saw what Jess wrote about Nico. More silence. Then, those were jokes. You know how she is. Don't take it personally. He's different, and the bunk room gets loud. We don't want him to be uncomfortable. You mean you don't want to adjust anything for him? We're not doing this. She snapped. Either let us use the house or don't. But don't make us the bad guys. You're the one hoarding your blessings. Hoarding. That word bounced around in my head as I sat there, staring at the message thread. It wasn't just a comment anymore. It was a pattern. A mindset. A whole family who saw my kid as disposable and my house as public property. So I made a decision. I picked up the phone. Called the HOA. Then the security company. Then changed every access code. I wasn't dramatic. I was done. Friday morning, the day of their big family beach bash. I woke up early. Sophia was still asleep. Nico was curled up in a tangle of blankets, his Switch resting on his chest, still playing the ambient music from whatever game he fell asleep to. I made coffee, sat down at my desk, and got to work. First stop, the HOA's access management system. Hi, this is Dr. Kai Bennett, Unit 7C, I said. I'd like to update the guest list and request gate security for the weekend. The woman on the line perked up. Of course, Dr. Bennett. What can I help with? I'd like to remove all recurring guest passes associated with the last names Bennett, Carlson, and Mitchell. Those were my parents, Jess and Cal's surnames. She clicked for a few seconds. Done. No active guests remain under those names. Great. I'll also be emailing you a list of authorized guests. If anyone not on that list shows up, please call me directly. I sent the list. It had 3 names. Kai Bennett. Sophia Bennett. Nico Bennett. Next, I opened the app for the smart locks. Every access code, my mom's, Cal's emergency code, even the old 1234 I gave to contractors, deleted. Then the card. A few years ago, I set up a family credit card with a low balance, just for gas and true emergencies. That card now showed $1,982.64 in recent charges. Costco. Walmart. A fireworks outlet in Daytona. I transferred the remaining balance to my main account and froze the card. The last call was to my private security contact. This is Dr. Bennett. I need someone stationed near the driveway entrance from 11 to 3 o'clock today. There's a large group planning to enter the property without permission. No problem, the guy said. You expecting trouble? Just a lot of entitlement. He chuckled. Honestly, that's 80% of what we deal with. By the time Nico came downstairs, rubbing his eyes in his oversized Spider-Man tee, everything was done. Are we still going to the beach house? He asked cautiously. We are, I said. Just us. He nodded. He didn't ask about Jess's kids or Cal's or Grandma. He just accepted it. We packed. Sophia kept stealing glances at me in the rearview mirror. You good? She asked quietly when Nico put his headphones on. I'm done, I said. Done being their backup plan. Done letting them treat our kid like he's optional. Sophia reached across the console and squeezed my hand. Then let's be done. We'd been at the house an hour when the first SUV pulled up to the gate. It popped up on my security app, a convoy of vehicles, coolers tied with bungees, beach chairs strapped to roofs. Jess's minivan, my parents' white SUV, Cal's truck, and what looked like a couple tagalongs. My phone rang. My sister. I hit decline. Then it rang again, from the gatehouse. Dr. Bennett, the guard said, voice crackling. We've got a group here insisting they have access to your property. They're upset. I'm sure they are, I said. They're not on the list. They don't have access. One of them's demanding to speak with you. Want me to put her on speaker? Go ahead. There was a shuffle, then Jess's voice, sharp, pitched, furious. Are you kidding me right now? The gate guy says we're not on the list? This is our reunion, Kai. No, I said evenly. It's your reunion. At my house. That you planned without asking. We drove all this way. The kids are excited. Open the gate. We'll talk about whatever you're mad about inside. No, I said again. The house is not available. You need to turn around. There was a pause. Then her voice dropped to that tight whisper she always used before she said something cruel. You're doing this because of him, aren't you? I didn't respond. You're ruining our family over a kid who hates sand. You're being manipulated. I looked out at the deck. Nico was building a towel fort on a lounge chair, humming to himself. You told 47 people you were spending 4 days in a house you don't own, I said. You planned it without checking with me. And then you made it clear my son wasn't welcome. I'm not hosting a family that doesn't host my kid. Kai, come on, she said with a fake laugh. We invited him. You're twisting this. He lives here, I said. You don't get to exclude someone from their own home and then act surprised when the door's locked. My dad's voice suddenly blasted through the speaker, slurred, aggressive, the kind of tone I could feel in my teeth even through a phone. We raised you, he barked. Wiped your ass. This how you repay us? Locking your own family out like dogs on the street? Sophia flinched from where she was unpacking groceries behind me. Nico didn't look up from his drawing. You think you're better than us? He continued. With your fancy job and your beach house? You're a goddamn disgrace. I pictured him, red-faced, beer belly pushing against the limits of his fishing shirt, neck veins popping like they always did when I was a kid, and he didn't like the way I looked at him. I took a slow breath. I don't think I'm better, I said calmly. But I am done. I'm not your emergency fund. I'm not your summer resort. I'm your son. And Nico is your grandson. If you can't handle that, you don't get access to anything that belongs to me. There was a beat of stunned silence on the other end. Then the sobbing started. You're tearing this family apart. My mom wailed. Over money, over that boy. Blood is blood, Kai. You don't cut off your parents. You did that, I said, the moment you decided Nico wasn't really mine. And I hung up. I didn't slam the phone. I didn't pace. I walked out onto the deck like it was just another summer morning. 10 minutes later, the guard called me back. They're still out here, sir. Insisting they have a right to the property. You told them no? I have. Twice. If you want, I can call the local PD. If they're not gone in 10 minutes, do it, I said. Tell them I've given clear instructions. And thank you again? The guy chuckled. Honestly, you're calmer than most. We've had people throw pool noodles. One guy tried to climb the gate with a cooler strapped to his back. He didn't see my hands shaking. Nico wandered over barefoot. Can I hang the hammock? He asked. Grandma said it was a fire hazard. I snorted. Yeah, bud. Put it wherever you want. On my phone, the camera feed showed the convoy still lingering. My mom waving her arms, Jess talking to someone behind the wheel of another SUV. But one by one, the cars started turning. The minivan backed up. The truck flipped around. And just like that, they were gone. The gate slid shut. And for the first time in years, I dropped my shoulders. The next 24 hours were a storm of buzzing notifications. Texts, voicemails, guilt bombs. From my mother. We're in a Motel 6 because of you. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Then, we already bought the food. You ruined the kids' summer. Then, Nico won't even remember this. He's not like the others. From my father. You owe us. Enjoy your precious house. You'll die alone in it. From Jess in the family group chat. Kai locked us out of our own house over his trauma child. You all saw it. Sophia hired security. On family. Cal stayed silent in the chat. But he sent me a private message. Man, you could have warned us. We took time off work. Couldn't you just have had a talk with them instead? I stared at it for a long time before replying. I've been having talks with them for 11 years. The problem isn't that they don't understand. It's that they don't care. He didn't respond. Sophia read the messages over my shoulder and sighed. They're going to paint you as the villain either way, she said. Might as well be a villain who protects his kid. Around dinner, as I grilled burgers out back, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in years. Leah. My cousin. The only one who ever asked how Nico's doing. Just heard what happened from Mom. She's stunned. I'm kind of proud of you. Also, are you seriously at the beach house alone? Because the twins and I can be there in an hour if Nico wants cousins who aren't jerks. I laughed out loud. Who is it? Nico asked. Your cool cousin Leah, I said. She wants to know if you want company. He paused, then nodded. Only if they like hard games, he said. I brought my whole deck. They do. I smiled. They like you? Leah showed up just before sunset with her 2 kids, a grocery bag in one arm and marshmallows in the other. She hugged me tight at the door, then pulled back and muttered, "Mom's already saying I betrayed the family by coming here. Apparently, choosing sides is a mortal sin now." "Are you?" I asked. She looked past me, where Nico was crouched on the deck showing her son how to build a towel fort with extra tension points. "Yeah," she said. "I am." We made dinner together, whatever we could throw together from her bag and our leftovers. I hadn't even remembered to buy skewers, so the kids roasted marshmallows on metal spatulas over the grill like tiny chefs. Later, we all sat on the beach steps eating s'mores and watching the sky turn that deep orange that only happens near water. Nico laughed. Loud and unguarded. The kind of laugh you don't fake. Leah leaned on the railing beside me, holding a paper plate like it was a glass of wine. "I saw that Facebook thread," she said quietly. "The real cousins thing." I wanted to say something. I should have. But my mom told me to stay out of it. "I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." "You're here now," I said. "That's what matters." Below us, Nico placed a smooth shell at the top of their sandcastle like it was a victory flag. Leah's daughter clapped like it was the most amazing thing she'd ever seen. And in that moment, I realized what I'd been craving wasn't peace, it was presence. Not just people who didn't cause damage, but people who noticed the good stuff. My phone buzzed on the table behind us. I didn't check it. The fallout continued all weekend, but I stopped letting it inside. Sunday night, back at home, Sophia and I sat on the couch scrolling through the chaos. Missed calls. Voicemails. Emails. One from my father, full of bolded words like ungrateful, disrespectful, and betrayal. A shorter one from my mom. "You humiliated us." Our church friends were with us. They saw everything. "We told them the gate was broken so you wouldn't look bad. You should be thanking us." Jess had written a full paragraph about how I traumatized her kids by changing their plans last minute. Not one message mentioned Nico. Not one said his name. No one brought up the boat. The stalking. The bunk room. The sketchbook. The Facebook thread. All they talked about was money. Face. Control. That's when I finally saw it clearly. It was never about family. I was just a line item in their survival budget. A resource. A means. I closed the group chat. Blocked the credit card notifications. Set a new email filter for anything that mentioned Kai, and disrespect. Sophia looked at me. "Should we say something? One final message?" "I already said what I needed to," I replied. "They just didn't like the answer." "So what now?" "Now we stop pouring energy into people who drain it," I said, "and start planning our summer." 2 weeks later, we drove back to the beach house. No group texts. No minivan convoy. No Facebook event with banner fonts and beer emojis. Just us, me, Sophia, Nico, and 2 of Nico's classmates whose parents were ecstatic to have a kid-free weekend. We stopped at a roadside produce stand on the way down. The boys insisted on picking out a watermelon so heavy I had to lift it with both arms like it was a patient on a stretcher. Nico wore his new baseball cap, navy blue with a patch he'd sewn on himself, a little pixel spaceship, and the words, "Stay strange." He stood there with a watermelon under each arm like a tiny farmer about to make a critical life decision. "You good with that one?" I asked. He turned, grinned, and said, "Can we make watermelon juice?" "We can make whatever you want." At the house, something hit me immediately, something I'd never noticed before. How quiet it was. No slamming screen doors. No Bluetooth speakers fighting over playlists. No arguments over who got the good room. No one, accidentally, tracking sand through the living room or asking where the cocktail shaker was like they owned the place. Just space. Space to breathe. To hear yourself think. To actually notice how bright the stars are when there's no noise competing. We dragged 4 Adirondack chairs onto the deck. I left 2 of them in the far corner, empty, not as an invitation, but as a reminder. I didn't have to fill every chair out of guilt. Nico disappeared for about half an hour after lunch. When he came back, he handed me a new drawing. It was the beach house again. But this time, no lonely figure on the dock. 4 stick figures on the sand. All with little details, his friends with ball caps, Sophia with big sunglasses, me with a grill spatula in hand. A hammock strung up in the corner. A tiny figure reading in it. "This one's better," he said shyly. "I like this version." "So do I," I said. I taped it to the fridge. Right in the center. That evening, we walked down to the shoreline. Nico and his friends ran ahead, kicking foam at each other. Sophia and I walked hand in hand behind them, bare feet in the sand. My phone buzzed again. It was Leah. She'd sent a photo of her twins running around in the sprinkler, sparklers in hand, giggling in their backyard. Under it, a message. Next year, it's our turn to borrow your place. The kids say they want Nico time, not beach bash time. We'll pick a weekend. I wrote back. For the people who know how to love him, the door is always open. A different tone buzzed on my phone a few minutes later. Unknown number. Voicemail. I didn't listen. I deleted it without opening. Instead, I looked up and watched Nico run along the waterline. His laugh rang out across the sand. He didn't look cautious. Or small. Or like a side character in someone else's vacation. He looked like the main character. And that's when it finally hit me. My job wasn't to be the bank. Or the free Airbnb. Or the emotional punching bag. My job was to be his dad. The rest of them could plan reunions without me. But they wouldn't be planning them at my house. The real test came a month later, when the apology wave hit. It started with Jess. A carefully worded email with a subject line that screamed, PR damage control. Clearing the air, let's talk? She said they were caught off guard. That things got blown out of proportion. That the real cousins' comment was a bad joke. And she couldn't believe how fast everything escalated. She never used Nico's name. Not once. She used words like family fabric, healing, and moving forward. She used the phrase, we all made mistakes. Like it was a group project. I didn't respond. Then Cal sent a message. More casual. You know they're never going to say sorry the way you want them to, right? They're old. Stubborn. It's just how they are. We're still your family. I wrote back one line. Nico's my family. He didn't write again. Finally, my mother called. Left a long, tearful voicemail. The kind that's less apology and more performance. I'm your mother, Kai. You don't shut out your mother. We raised you. We loved you. We always loved you. I never said Nico wasn't family. She didn't say he was either. At the end, she added, your father's been unwell. We're not asking for money. Just kindness. Just to be included again. And that's the moment I knew they still didn't get it. It wasn't about money. Or Facebook posts. Or house access. It was about the fact that my son had never felt like they wanted him. And I wasn't going to force him into spaces that didn't love him right. Sophia asked me what I wanted to do with the messages. If I needed to say anything. I already did. I told her. I changed the locks. That was the message. We made new rules that weekend. Quiet ones. Nothing in writing, nothing posted. Just an understanding between us. We would love the people who show up without expecting anything in return. We would stop throwing lifelines to people who keep diving back into chaos. And we would never let Nico feel like a guest in his own story again. That fall, I caught him building a model rocket with one of Leah's kids in the garage. Covered in glue and paint and bickering like real cousins do. When he saw me, he held up the rocket. This one's gonna go higher than last time. Of course it will, I said. You've got a better launch pad now. He grinned, then turned back to his project. Like he was home. Because he was. That Christmas, we didn't go inland. We stayed home. I took a full week off call, a rare miracle, and spent it making up for all the holidays where I was paged away mid-dessert. We decorated the house in quiet chaos. Nico picked the theme. Space Christmas. Which meant tinsel-wrapped comets, glitter glue stars, and a Santa in an astronaut helmet. We bought new stockings. Just 3. One said Dad, one said Nico, one said Sophia. There was no red multipack backup. No forgotten hanger. No one left out. Leah and her twins came down the day after Christmas. We grilled on the deck in hoodies and blankets. Played Mario Kart until someone rage quit, me. Then Nico and her son built an entire foam core model of their dream city while the girls choreographed a terrible dance to 90s pop and forced us to watch. No one asked who bought the house. No one kept score. No one whispered. It was the most peaceful holiday I could remember. And it made one thing very clear. We weren't missing anything. We weren't isolated. We were free. Free from pretending. Free from tension disguised as tradition. Free from bending ourselves into someone else's version of family. Sometime in January, a letter showed up at the clinic. Handwritten. My mother's shaky script. We miss you. We miss our grandson. Enough time has passed. Please don't keep us from him forever. I didn't respond. Because the truth is, I wasn't keeping Nico from anyone. I was finally protecting him. From the small cuts that add up. From being a footnote in someone else's life. From having to prove he belonged. One night that spring, I found him asleep on the couch, book on his chest, sketchpad on the floor. I picked it up and flipped through. There were drawings of cities and rockets. A jet ski. A pontoon. Then one of the beach house deck. 3 chairs this time. All filled. Stick figures with ice cream cones and sun hats. A dog I didn't recognize curled at their feet. No figure off to the side. No one alone. And under the drawing, in his small, neat writing, main characters live here. In April, I finally took Nico to a Comic-Con in Orlando. He wore a handmade cape and carried a prop sword made from foam and spray paint, and not a single person there asked him why he was so quiet, or so into that stuff. They just got him. There was this one moment. He was at a table sketching a custom character for a kid who didn't speak much either. They didn't say a word, just passed a notebook back and forth, trading drawings like secret passwords. I stood off to the side, watching, and a volunteer leaned toward me. Your son? Yeah, I said. He's got talent. And manners. That's rare. It hit me in the chest. The simplest compliment in the world. But so rare from the people who should have been the first to see it. I texted Sophia a photo of him sitting there, completely in his element. She wrote back 2 words. Right where he belongs. A few days later, I got another message from Cal. It just said, Mom wants to know if she can send Nico a birthday card. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a tiny breadcrumb like that somehow made things okay again. I didn't answer. Nico's birthday came in May. We let him invite whoever he wanted. No limits. He picked 4 friends, Leah's kids and his art teacher. He didn't mention my parents. Not once. He asked for a beach scavenger hunt and a cake shaped like a dragon spaceship. We delivered both. When he blew out the candles, he looked up at me and said, Thanks for making it all mine this year. You mean the party? I asked. No, he said. Everything. Later that night, when Sophia and I were cleaning up, she said, I think this was our clean break. I nodded. I felt it too. It's not that the anger was gone. It's that it had burned down to something cleaner. Something simpler. A boundary. And a beginning. Summer rolled in slow and warm, and for the first time in my life, I didn't dread the heat. No surprise group chats. No mystery cousins showing up at the gate with coolers and entitlement. Just planned weekends, real invitations, and quiet. The kind of quiet that lets a house breathe. One morning in June, I found Nico out on the deck, curled up in the hammock with a mug of hot cocoa even though it was already 80 degrees. His sketchbook was balanced on his knees, and he was staring out at the water like it was telling him secrets. You okay, bud? I asked. He nodded. I think I'm drawing the beach house. Like for real this time. Not how it was before. What's different now? I asked. He looked at me like the answer should have been obvious. There's no one watching me. Just people being with me. I walked back inside, grabbed my coffee, and sat down on the deck next to him. We didn't say much after that. Just sipped and sat. That kind of silence is rare. Sacred even. Later that week, Leah called. Her voice was tight, annoyed. Mom's furious, she said. Apparently Jess is telling everyone at church that you've excommunicated the family. The word cult was used. I actually laughed. Guess we're the cult of boundaries now. They're planning some healing dinner in July, she added. Wanting to rebuild trust or whatever. Jess called it a reconciliation meal. Said you're invited? Said Nico should come too. To show there are no hard feelings. I felt a flicker of something. Not rage. Not pain. Just a tired, old ache that had been emptied out so many times it barely had weight anymore. Let me guess, I said. The meal is being hosted at my house. Leah didn't answer for a second. Then, they mentioned it. I exhaled slowly. Tell them this, I said. There is no rebuilding something that was never built right to begin with. If they want reconciliation, they can start with recognition. Until then, they don't need a table. They need to look in a mirror. Leah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You know what's funny? The only person in this whole mess acting like a grown-up is the kid they always thought was too sensitive." I looked back out at the hammock, now empty, Nico's sketchbook left open with a half-finished drawing of our deck, and the caption, "Quiet is not empty." August came, and with it, the exact weekend they'd originally planned for their family beach bash. It was strange, in a way, seeing it roll around on the calendar like a ghost date. The same weekend that was once blocked off for 47 people, now wide open. Ours. Sophia noticed it first. She came into the kitchen with her phone, tilting the screen toward me. "Look familiar?" It was a photo. Jess had posted it to her story. Her kids on a crowded stretch of public beach, umbrellas crammed together like angry mushrooms. The caption, "Making memories anyway. Even without a house." I didn't say anything. Just turned back to the cutting board and went back to slicing watermelon. That Saturday, we loaded up the car and drove to the beach house again. No agenda. No pressure. Just us. Nico brought his telescope this time. He'd saved up for it for months, birthday money, commissions from sketching other kids' D&D characters at school, even helping Sophia's dad organize his garage for $50. That night, as the sun dipped down and the first stars blinked alive, he set it up on the deck and carefully aimed. "You want to see Saturn?" he asked, not like a kid asking permission, but like someone offering a gift. I leaned in. And there it was. A pale yellow orb with rings so faint I wouldn't have believed they were real if I wasn't seeing them myself. I hadn't looked through a telescope since high school. I'd forgotten how small and lucky it could make you feel. Nico adjusted the angle. "You know Saturn has, like 80 moons?" "80?" I asked. "You sure about that?" He shrugged. "Some haven't been confirmed yet. But yeah. Most people don't know that. They think the rings are the cool part. But it's the moons." He looked up at me. "They're just quiet. But they're still there." I couldn't speak for a second. He didn't mean it as a metaphor. But it hit me like one. All those years, we'd been circling people who made noise. Who demanded to be the center. And we forgot the moons. The quiet ones. The ones who were always there. The ones who mattered. I reached out and squeezed his shoulder. "I'm glad I see them now." He smiled, then turned back to the eyepiece. Inside, the fridge hummed softly. The hammock swayed. The house, for once, felt not just quiet, but right. Not a place we escape to. A place we belong. By September, the quiet had fully settled in, not just around the house, but inside me. It was like I'd been living with an invisible hum for years and had finally stepped out of range. Sophia noticed it, too. One night, as we sat out back with our feet up, sipping iced tea in the dark, she turned to me and said, "You seem lighter." "Lost some weight," I joked, patting my chest. "About 220 pounds of family guilt." She smiled, but her eyes didn't leave me. "No, really. You're not bracing anymore. You're just here." And I was. Fully. I used to think being present meant showing up, signing the checks, letting things slide for the sake of peace. But real presence is being willing to protect the peace, not just preserve the illusion of it. The next morning, I got a letter from the HOA. Not a complaint. A thank you? Apparently, one of the board members had driven past during the incident and told the story at the next meeting. Dr. Bennett handled things with civility and firmness. "We appreciate your care for the property and community integrity." They also asked if I'd consider joining the HOA advisory board. I respectfully declined. I'd already served enough unpaid roles in one dysfunctional system. A few days later, I heard from Leah again. She and her kids were putting together a cousin weekend, their own version. Board games. A scavenger hunt. A pancake cook-off with rules Nico was writing by hand in a spiral notebook labeled "Official Judge Guidelines." I offered the beach house. "No," she said. "We'll take our turn in Tallahassee." "But thanks." She paused. Then added, "It's nice knowing it's there. That you're there. Even if we're not using it." That was the difference. They didn't want access. They just wanted connection. And they didn't demand either. That Sunday, as we were heading back from the farmer's market, Nico handed me a new sketch. It was different. Not just the house or the beach. It was us. The three of us at the dinner table. Me laughing. Sophia reaching for a bowl. Nico mid-sentence, a burst of cartoon-style words hovering above his head. On the fridge in the sketch, taped in place, was the drawing from earlier that summer, the beach house with everyone on the sand. I stared at it for a long time. He'd drawn his world, and put his own art in the background. "This is your best one yet," I said. "Yeah," he said, like it was obvious. "It's the only one that's finished." The first real test came in October, during a funeral. An old family friend, someone my parents had known for decades, passed unexpectedly. The service was in their town. We got the group text like everyone else. No greeting. No question. Just, "Funerals at 2 o'clock on Saturday. Reception after. We're all going. You should too." No mention of Nico. No. "Hope to see you." Just a bullet-pointed directive, like a summons. I sat with it for an hour before deleting the message. It's not that I didn't care. I did. I sent a card to the family. Quiet. Direct. Respectful. But I wasn't going to drag Nico back into a room full of people who only acknowledge him when it fits their narrative. I wasn't going to go shake hands with the same ones who'd called me ungrateful, brainwashed, and dangerous for protecting my son from them. Sophia was quiet when I told her. "You sure?" she asked. Not doubting, just double-checking that I'd measured the weight. I nodded. "They only want me there if I show up alone. The version of me who plays along." She leaned against the counter and crossed her arms. "Well, that guy's not around anymore." Later that day, Nico came into my office with a stack of paper and asked if we could print a few extra copies of his new short comic. "What's it about?" I asked. He smiled. "It's about a kid who makes a map of his planet, but keeps drawing the same hill over and over again. Then he realizes, oh, that's home." I looked at him for a long moment. "You've already named it?" He nodded. "Planet Quiet. We printed 10 copies. He stapled each one by hand, drew little covers, and gave one to each of his teachers. When I tucked him in that night, I saw the original hanging above his bed. On the map, the beach house was a star. The caption next to it read, "Home base. No invaders allowed." I don't know what I expected, maybe that things would get easier with time. That someone would apologize. That some part of the old family would quietly reach across the line and admit what they did. But nothing came. No olive branch. No ownership. Just silence. And strangely, I was okay with that. Some endings are quiet. And that doesn't make them less final. By December, the silence had stopped feeling like a standoff and started feeling like peace. No one reached out for the holidays, not even a mass text. No Merry Christmas from my mother. No photo of Jess's kids in matching pajamas. Nothing. And still, it was one of the happiest seasons we've ever had. We hosted a small dinner. Leah and the twins. Nico's best friend and his mom. No performance. No politics. Just people who showed up, peeled potatoes, brought desserts, asked Nico about his comic and actually listened when he answered. At one point he stood up and gave a toast. Nervous but steady. "I used to feel like I was visiting places that didn't want me," he said. "But I don't feel that way anymore. This feels like mine too." Sophia teared up. Leah clapped. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just pulled him into a hug. It had taken years of yes I didn't mean to get here. And exactly one no that I did. Spring came quietly, like everything good does now. One morning, Nico and I were walking back from the shoreline, shoes in hand, salt drying on our legs. He stopped and looked up at the house. "You think we'll still come here when I'm older?" he asked. "You planning on ditching us?" I teased. He grinned. "No. Just wondering if I'll still get to bring people. People who matter." I put a hand on his shoulder. "Anyone who matters to you is always welcome." He nodded like he was filing that away. Later that week, a thick envelope arrived in the mail. Handwritten return address. My parents' handwriting. I didn't open it. I didn't rage or cry or pace. I just walked it to the shredder and dropped it in. Not out of anger. Out of understanding. They'd made their choice, and I'd made mine. We weren't living in retaliation. We were living in alignment. That weekend, Nico hung his newest drawing on the fridge. It was the beach house again. But in this one, the doors were open, light was pouring out, and above it all, he'd written in block letters, "Home is who shows up." I stood there staring at it, heart too full to speak. I used to think family was about obligation. Now I know. Family is who protects your name when you're not in the room. Family is who makes space for your silence. Family is who chooses you, without conditions. And from now on, that's the only kind of family allowed past my gate.